So we're talking about getters and setters, and they are the next aspect of a class definition that we're going to explore. So far what we have the big three, which are our instance variables, our constructors, and our toString. So what are getters and setters and how do they fit in? Well, it all starts with this keyword here, private. Right? When we're defining our instance variables, we define them all as private. And what does that mean if they're private? It means that they can only be accessed in this class definition. Right? And where are we accessing it? Well, we're accessing name here in the constructor, here in the constructor, right? In these methods. We're also accessing name here in the toString. Right? So these instance variables are accessible in the class methods. Right? That's what private means. They are not accessible in the driver or any classes that are outside of the class definition. So if I'm over here in the driver and let's say I make this hero whose name is Daniel, I can't print hero.name. Okay. Why not? Well, if I hover over, it says that name has private access in character. Private access means you can only access the instance variables in the class methods. You cannot access them outside of the class methods like here in the driver. However, if I come over to the character class and instead of making it private, I make it public, right? I save it. Public means this instance variable can be accessed anywhere in the class definition or outside the class definition here in the driver. Notice that name is not underlined red anymore. And now if I go ahead and run my program, it's going to print out just Daniel. Right? What am I allowed to do? I'm able to say, okay, this hero object that I made on line 5, I am accessing just its name instance variable. All right. Well, you might be thinking to yourself now, let's just make everything public and we're good to go. However, that's a problem, and that's the focus of this video. For the purposes of our class, your instance variables of your classes should never be public. They should always be private. Okay? But that causes this problem over here. I can't access it over in the driver, right? So why do we make it private? Well, one reason, let me go ahead and give you one example of why we want to set our instance variables to private. Let's say I set energy to public, right? What does that allow me to do? Over here in the driver, I could say hero.energy is equal to negative 555. Now, should my hero's energy be allowed to be set to a negative number? Well, maybe not. Let's say that you don't want that to happen, right? If we set the name, if we make the name public, then we could set the name to a bunch of symbols. Now, should we? Well, let's assume that you don't want this to happen. Let's assume that you have standards for the values of your instance variables. Now, if you have standards for the values of your instance variables, you want to make them private, not public. Okay. Now, how does making it private allow you to protect your data? Well, if I say energy is equal to negative 555, you could see that it errors out. It does not let any classes outside of the class definition access the instance variable, right? So we can't set it to negative 555. That's where getters and setters come in. Okay, so let me go ahead and stop the video here and we'll pick it up in the next one.